Al he found a bridge over the river Ganges. It looked greener on the other side, with trees to sit beneath and watch the powerful currents pass. So he crossed the bridge and turned right to follow a rough path running besides the river. He spotted an orange-robed elderly and bearded man sitting cross-legged beneath a tree, a semicircle of younger people sitting facing him. Al knew that they were called barbers, as he himself had been called a few times. Maybe he's one of those guru teachers, Al thought. Back in England Al had read about the pop group The Beatles, who had taken up with a guru called Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who had taught them how to meditate and himself gained great publicity and popularity. Maybe it was something to do with that. The orange-robed teacher shouted something and motioned to Al to go over and join them and sit down. Al complied. The elderly teacher smiled and asked Al where he was from and why he was in Haridwat. In a broken English with an almost German accent, Al explained that he had travelled overland from the UK, simply on an adventure, and that he was here because he had met a Spanish man in Delhi who had recommended it as a good place to stay for a while. The teacher laughed and from under his robes produced a chillum. The chillum was prepared, wrapped in a safi, a small piece of cloth that served as a sort of filter. The tobacco hash mixture poured in the lit chillum passed around so that everyone including Al had a good puff. The teacher cum chillum maker, the barber, asked Al if he had a few rupees for another chillum. Al handed over a small note. A young boy suddenly appeared from amongst the nearby thickness of trees, took the note, ran off into the trees to return seconds later with a small lump of black hash which he passed on and which was instantly made into another chillum and smoked. Al stayed a short while, and as nothing was being said and he was quite high on the hash, he said his goodbyes and left, carrying on in the same direction as before. Within minutes he was sitting with another group under another tree, smoking again. This is the good life, thought Al, so high that he was beginning to feel like he was in a holy city in India, by the Ganges. He left the second group and walked some 100 yards before he had the idea that immersing oneself in the Ganges was supposed to purify the soul. Well, he mumbled under his breath, so only he and I could hear. Why not? It's hot and I'll soon dry off. Across the river he could see a long-walled building complex with steps going down to the river. As he got closer he could see steps going down on this side too. A few steps. I should be okay. The water was moving very fast. Al thought maybe he would not immerse himself, just splash himself all over. After all, I can't swim. So he put down his bag, took me off his head and put me on his bag, took off his sandals, and stepped down and into the water. With some hesitation, one step, second step, third step, then his feet were swept from under him. He felt himself falling backwards into the water which he knew would sweep him away. Too high to feel real fear, he envisioned the situation if he was to be swept down the Ganges. He would have to try to float. He had to hope he would be saved. But who would swim in this? How many bodies had ended up like this? Was this really holy water? As he fell he reached out and somehow managed to grab a chain that was attached to the land, maybe for mooring a boat. He grabbed the chain, but the force of the water was now tugging at his body like a hungry monster and now splashing his whole body with his head about to go under. As his head went under he felt a wrenching on his arm, but he pulled stronger. Now his head was out, now his body, now he was clambering up the steps, drenched and coughing up holy water. He made it to the grassy bank and collapsed on the floor. But it wasn't long before Al was dried out and sitting with yet another group smoking another chillum. Back in Kabul, now with Diane, Al went back to meet Diane at Sadhus and told her what was happening.